Meeting of the Marshall Township Board Board to order. I will announce that the supervisor notified us just a little while ago that he will be unable to attend tonight's meeting, so we'll be having to designate a moderator for the meeting, but we'll get it started here with the pledge to the flag. If you please stand, and Dwayne Sly, if you please lead us.
Dwayne. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know, it's okay.
And I'll call the roll. Supervisor Bozzard is absent. I'm here. Treasurer Kowalski.
Here.
Trustee Woods. Here. Trustee Wright.
Here.
4 present, 1 absent. We have a quorum. This time I'll state that Rule 6.1 of our board rules states that the supervisor shall moderate and chair all meetings of the board. In the absence of the supervisor, the board, by a majority of the members present, shall designate a board member to serve as moderator of the meeting. Now, I think the last time that the supervisor was unable to attend just for informational purposes, we did suspend that rule. We voted to suspend that rule, and we designated Dwayne Sly to moderate the meeting. He had a little advance notice of that meeting, however, so I don't know whether he would be, what the pleasure of the board is and what the pleasure of Planning Commission member Sly is.
Yes, I'll do it.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to have Planning Commissioner Dwayne Sly be our moderator.
I'll second.
Motion by Woods, or Wright, supported by Woods, to suspend Rule 6.1, if that's all right.
Yes.
And that Dwayne Sly of the Planning Commission be designated as tonight's meeting moderator. Is there discussion? If there is not, I will vote yes. Treasurer Kowalski?
Yes.
Trustee Woods?
Yes.
Trustee Wright?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 absent. Motion is carried. Wayne, if you want to come up.
Thank you. Bear with me since
Right?
I'm kind of on the
It's all
spot
right.
here. Okay, so.
We're at the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Yes, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Move on to a vote.
It could be a
Voice vote?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to the reports. The permits issued are in the packet. Fire chief. Jay,
Don't say it.
Fire chief, okay. Treasurer's report.
Yeah, so it's in the packet. I'll just note, we did have a CD. Sure. So that money stayed within the Marshall Credit Union. I negotiated a 4.77% interest rate until August of 2026. And just one comment, I'll need to maintain liquidity for the fire truck that is due sometime in 2026. So I'll ask Jay to kind of keep me posted on that. But we do have liquidity through the no penalty CD with Southern Michigan Bank and Trust. So I think I think we're in good shape, as far as getting good returns on our money and having enough liquidity to not only pay our bills, but buy our new fire truck.
Do we have the sheriff enhanced report, patrol activity?
That's all right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Is that you sitting out on Michigan Avenue?
Yeah.
Last month, we did 27 and a half hours in, 42 traffic stops, warrant arrest. I worked a little bit on the copper theft for DC Electric. And most of our stops were in the construction zone on Michigan Avenue, even though I spent some time on Verona, 15 Mile and A Drive North. That construction zone is quite a problem. We had that accident out there where 3 people got hurt kind of bad and smashed one of the workers. So we were trying to spend some time on there. We did have somebody that decided in exchange for not getting a ticket, they would give me a drug tip. So we passed that on to the appropriate team. So we have a little bit there. So also, if any complaints for Marshall Township for traffic are coming into the sheriff, they're just funneling them straight to me instead of having, somebody else call them in. So I've been taking care of those too. Any questions? Anybody? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, Planning Commission, Trustee Woods.
Oh, let's see. Okay, the master plan survey is in full effect. Deadline is the 26th of November. And so far, at best count, we have 136 surveys on paper that have been turned in. We have 17 online that have been completed or in progress. And along with the survey, the mass notification system was initiated, and we have 14 signed up for it as of last notice. And Joanna, I still don't understand the YouTube one, but we have 12 on YouTube and didn't have enough time to.
14 now, 14 now.
14 now? Okay, 14 now. Yeah, let's see. Still waiting for the maps, the updated maps, zoning maps from the county. I haven't heard anything since we turned in the request. No updates as of today yet, so know it's being worked. Just don't have an ETA on when we're going to get them. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
I'll bring this up now. The Joint Planning Commission. There is a meeting scheduled tomorrow, and the agenda that has been sent out is reflective of ones that came out in September. And those meetings were pretty much a no-go. Nothing got resolved in those meetings. There have been numerous communications via emails, text, attorney letters, one-on-ones between the supervisor and the city manager. And I'm not sure, nothing seems to be being accomplished. There's no ground being gained in any of these discussions as far as, from the JPC members from the township, the rules and procedures, which are key to directing the Joint Planning Commission and how it functions, they're just being disregarded as far as election of officers. That's our stance. Nothing's been gained in that arena at all. Me personally, somebody within the city has an agenda, and it's not the one being presented to the Joint Planning Commission for their meetings. That's about the only way I can present it. So that's all I have on that.
So can I just ask, so Mick, I don't know, there may be some people that aren't aware of our mass communication system and maybe the survey, but do we want to kind of just talk about that, what it is and why it is? Would that make sense?
Mass communications, I'll do the easy one first. Mass communication system is, you have to sign up for it. And it's a weekly update on what's happening in Marshall Township. And I even got one or two, I think they were blank, but they still came out and said, hey, this is it. But you can sign up for it. I think it's on the front page of the website that you can actually go sign up for it. Anybody can sign up for it out there that see what's going on within the township. The survey.
Right here. Right there on the website, you see right there?
You are good.
New setups.
You are good.
Big money.
My gosh. The survey is, how many questions, Joanna?
It's 8 pages.
It's 8 pages long. Is that even 8 pages on the website too, or just paper?
It's the same. I can't apologize. I can't remember the exact number.
Okay, no problem. And it's to help us with our future land map. And I haven't even filled mine out yet. I got 2 weeks yet. Well, 11 days. No, less than that. But their questions are designed just to how you feel about how things are going in the township, where you want to see us head and go in the future. And we'll take all that information and we'll sit down and formulate a plan. And we are holding open hearings in January, discussions on the results. And so.
Fill it out.
Fill it out.
When you go, if you do it online, you can, when you go directly to the Marshall, like I refresh this, I think. I refresh it.
And there are 25 questions.
This right here, it'll tell you, please fill out the survey online. You can download it as well, but you can click to it. And again, it gives you the input of what you want to see happen in the township, what you desire it to be. And that's the data that's going to be used to help us figure out the future land use and such.
The whole master plan.
The whole master plan.
Master plan.
Oh, master plan, yeah. Of which the future plan
Right.
is a part of, so, yeah.
Please fill it out. Okay.
Okay. Moving on. Road Commission Liaison, Trustee Woods.
Oh, that's in the discussion items. We'll just,
Okay. Want to move on to the 425 Subcommittee?
I guess I can just say that Rob Fall has submitted the intervention motion to the courts. So that's where we're at right now. He has filed that. So, yep. Do you want to say anything else, Glenn?
No, and I guess maybe we'll distribute that through Jeff. I'll get that to Jeff and he can distribute it to the board.
We just got that today. So.
Okay. Budget report?
Attached to this part of the agenda is the October 31st budget report, which is a 7-month budget report. And I've reviewed in the bottom line for each of the departments is that expenditures are as expected and contemplated so far by the budget, at least. On the agenda under new business is a proposed adjustment, number one, based on the 6-month report, which is later in the agenda packet on that. If there are any questions regarding any individual items or any further information that board members need with regard to the budget reports, just let me know.
Oh,
So is this the time that we'd want to talk about the budget items, or do we want to delay that till later?
Well, under new business is the 6-month review and some proposed adjustments.
Okay.
So,
anything else? Okay. Moving on to communications. Jim Bomba concerning countywide brownfield redevelopment authority, referred to the planning commission. Is that included in the packet?
Yeah.
that partially is, let me put it that way, because I asked, she referenced a resolution, and I asked for that, and I hadn't received it as of yet, and supposedly there's a deadline to opt into this Brownfield Redevelopment Authority by November 26th. But I couldn't find any further information unless one attended a meeting. And if anybody attended a meeting on this, apparently the county held a meeting. So I just attached what information I had.
Do we know, I mean, I looked over that briefly, but I mean, part of me is curious a little, like, one, I'm all for using some of our brown sites to be able to redevelop it in different ways. I'm just curious, you know, I saw some things about housing, you know, on that, and like, how does that happen if brown sites are, you know, previously industrial? Is that a safe thing? So I would love to hear a little bit more information on that, if we can. Maybe I don't know, reach out or something as well, but I was just curious. I'd want to know more information on that. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'm not sure what it means to join this authority. Does it just mean that you're part of the decision-making process, or what is it? It doesn't, I mean, it gives you the why, I guess, in the 5 bullet points, or four bullet points, but.
Yeah, it just seemed to me there was a lot of information missing. Yeah, before one would, you know, decide either way to get into it. Does it have the authority to tax, for example? And I think the reason that we listed refer to the planning commission because it referred to housing development in there. But if there's another disposition the board wants to make with that communication, I mean.
I think I'd want to know more information, you know, before we just join something. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Next communication is Supervisor Bozzard. I believe he sent a letter to MDOT requesting tree planting along the fire station, and I think that's included in the packet.
It actually would be for the township hall, like we requested to be similar to the ones they
Oh, okay.
planted south of the fire station. But it pointed out, the letter also pointed out, don't plant it south of the our parking lot, because that's our drain field.
Oh. Okay.
That's important.
And a request of Joe, I'm going to butcher this name, Meninger, to
Right.
detach
Meininger.
whatever, to detach property from the city of Marshall to the township. And that has been referred to our attorney. That is,
I have a question about
it is
this.
included in the packet.
So do we have a date when the attorney's gonna get back with us on that? Does anybody know? I don't know who referred it, so.
He said that there would be, that he was researching it, that it was an involved process, and that he would get back to us on it, and that was at the end of October. To the best of my knowledge, he hasn't updated us further.
So it's just about the process of completing that action for him?
Yeah,
Was that the concern?
I have no idea what that process is. It's kind of hard to find any reference to it anywhere in the MTA stuff. I know that Mr. Meininger, I think, something like that, he's had active discussions as evidenced from his email with the city of he's in discussion with the city of Marshall first. So I have the impression, although that's one of the things that hopefully the attorney will clarify, that, you know, that the city, both units would have to approve it.
Right.
And who goes first, you know, hopefully he'll tell us. And what considerations there are.
Comes out.
I don't need you telling me what to do here.
So I guess we're awaiting more from the attorney on that. We'll move on to the referrals. Planning Commission 2026 meeting schedule is included in the packet. And the Planning Commission Resolution 2025-01 concerning the master plan update, accept and placed on file.
Can I just,
Sure thing.
on those two items, I will double check the election calendar for next year. Has not been forwarded to clerks yet, but the August and November Planning Commission meetings may have to be moved if they conflict with elections, because obviously the Township Hall will be tied up during that process. I'll let, as soon as I can confirm those two dates, if they do conflict, I'll let you and Joanna
Yeah,
know.
we'll wait till we hear from you to put them on the
Yeah.
website then.
Yep. And then on the master plan, I gathered that the board's receipt of it is what action was needed.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, I guess we will move on to the public comment listed on unlisted agenda items. We'll open that now. Anybody from the public like to speak on agenda items only? You can speak come to the podium, state your name and where you're from, and you have 5 minutes.
Ryan Leonard, Emmett Township. And I wasn't planning on speaking, but you guys brought up the brownfield thing. And as some of you know, I'm a trustee for Emmett Township. We just did that resolution at last week's Emmett Township meeting. And Rob Thal put together, I think Rob put together the resolutions. I think he does the resolutions for us. Anyway, as far as getting a resolution, you ought to be able to get one quickly. You mentioned you wanted more information on it. I can tell you just real quick, an explanation, and I sent Glenn my notes about what the Brownfield Authority is. A briefing sheet that I had that lists a lot of things, but simply, a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority helps clean up, assesses, and support development of vacant, blighted, or contaminated properties using tools like environmental cleanup support and tax increment financing, which they call TIF. It does not override zoning or spend township tax money without approval. So I know you said the deadline was like the 26th, and that's why we had ours on the agenda. So I don't know if there's a way, if you guys might be interested to, if you'd have to have a special meeting or something like that, if you're interested. I just thought I'd throw that out there. That's all.
Joanna Johnson, your Planning Commission Chair and Marshall Township resident. I also want to speak to the item with regards to the Brownfield Authority. I really caution this board from taking any action. As you know, there has been some communication from the county to redevelop a property on 15 Mile Road, which is a brownfield, to a recycling center. And I think there's just more information that we really need to know when it comes to acting on an authority. Thank you.
Joe Harris, Battle Creek, former Emmett Township. I'm going to talk about the brownfield too. So the statute that you're looking at is MCL Act 381. You can go to the legislative website. You can read all about that. It is 79 points, 79 sections to this. It is rather extensive. I couldn't get through it all in one day. So my suggestion, get together with your attorney and go through it. There are some things in there in regard to property. I don't know exactly if my concern would be the county coming into Marshall Township or any township and indiscriminately taking property with how you guys knowing it. I don't know how it works exactly, to be honest with you. That's a concern. But that's the statute that you're looking for. It's MCL Act 381, 1996. And you can go look at that at the Michigan Legislature website and read about it. So thank you.
Barry Wayne Adams, 622 West Green Street, over in Marshall. Well, first off, I don't know who's in charge of making up acronyms, but they probably could have figured out a better name than a Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. But going to the issues of what happened at the November 7th meeting, the township should realize the gravity of the injury that was inflicted upon it by the act of the City Council to ignore the recommendation of the Joint Planning Commission. Now, municipalities are not sovereign. They are corporations, they are creatures of the state, and they operate in contract. And those PA 425 agreements novated the existing contractual dynamic relationship between Marshall and Marshall Township. And it was very clear that it delegated the jurisdictional issues concerning rezoning to the Joint Planning Commission. It was a contractual mandate. There's been a lot of gaslighting about what's happened with the decision of the Michigan Supreme Court in sending it. I mean, there's no ambiguity about them vacating the Court of Appeals decision. It was so erroneous that the committee's case didn't even have to get into oral argument or anything like that. The Michigan Supreme Court saw it was so erroneous that they jump-started it and sent it back down to the Court of Appeals with specific guidance. And that Clam Lake Township versus Department of Regulatory Affairs case is very clear, in spite of all the tendentious interpretations that we've been hearing from the Medas. You got to follow the contractual terms of the PA 425 agreement. If you don't, it's a breach of contract. you people should recognize that when the city council denied the recommendation of the JPC, the township was legally injured in its ability to have its voice heard in zoning issues. You all took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. That means you're here to protect the rights of these people. These people had the right to have their voice heard, and it was denied. If you fail to try to step in as a third-party intervener, you will be abdicating your obligation to your elected office. And that can be equated with malfeasance and misconduct in office. So it would be a slam dunk. I mean, there's been too much reliance on the advice of attorneys, particularly when the township attorney recommends one thing and then the county prosecutor comes back and says that that recommendation was actually illegal. So maybe it's time to just learn the words, read the documents, learn the words, understand what they mean, and not have to rely on attorneys. You guys were elected to represent the people. And if you just turn your head and ask an attorney what to do, the attorneys are running the show. So I hope you guys take seriously the gravity of the injury that was inflicted upon the township. Your voice was denied, and there's, as has already been alluded to, that there are ulterior agendas that are in operation concerning the mega-site process, and it's your job to filter through that and actually take what these people are concerned about and put it into operation. Lots of pressure from upstairs, but things are changing in Lansing. They've defunded the SOAR fund, and Representative Carr has just introduced legislation to dismantle the MEDC, whose operation has been a dismal failure. They only have a 9% success rate, meaning a 91% failure rate. So it's time to start taking responsibility, and instead of just being happy that you're getting all this windfall money coming down from Lansing, actually taking responsibility as to what this money is going to be used for, where it's coming from, who's actually giving it, and who it's actually benefiting. You're here to benefit these people here, not the CEO of Ford or their board of directors or the nefarious influence of CATL and its connection to CCP. This is not nonsense. Ambassador Joseph Stella was very clear as to the potential dangers of this kind of relationship between Ford and the Chinese. So, you know, we're not being xenophobic. We've been on top of this stuff for going on 3 years now, and Lansing is finally starting to listen to us, but we're hoping that you guys, okay.
What can I say? Mark? Yes.
I'm Regis Klingler, 348 Butler Court in Marshall. I'm also with the Committee for Marshall, not the mega site. I'd first like to thank the board here for allowing intervention into our lawsuit against the city of Maida. As Barry alluded, there's some definite interest that the township has in that case, and you are heavily involved in it, being it's in Marshall Township. The land will return to Marshall Township in the end. I think I'm glad to see that the township is finally standing up to the city. You owe it to your residents to do that. The city has had a misconception about the 425. It's supposed to be an agreement. They they have the feeling that they're the final say, that they can override the Joint Planning Commission. And that's not a joint decision. That's not an agreement. That's a one-way decision on their part. So that was one of the reasons we did have a lawsuit. It wasn't the primary, but it was a very important decision. So I thank you for making the attempt to intervene in that. I think it gives a lot more weight to our argument. We have seen positive feedback from the Supreme Court decision, and we hope we can prevail at the Court of Appeals. Or if the city ever wants to talk to us, we've approached them several times and had nothing in response. So I'm sure you run into that too. I also want to commend the board for trying to do a revised master plan. I think that's a great idea. Hope everybody's filled out the surveys. The city took over 10 years to review theirs, and the last time they reviewed it said, oh, well, it's during the pandemic, so everything's fine. So they finally did that, long overdue, and I hope you do it more often than they did. Thank you.
Lynn Slight, 507 Fair Street, City of Marshall. I'm a proud member of the Committee for Marshall, not the Megasite. We're fighting to give the Marshall citizens a voice. By law, we the people have the right to referendum. We have the right to vote. And we at the Committee for Marshall, not the Megasite, we are making progress, and I believe we are going to win. Today, I want to thank you on the Marshall Township Board. Thank you for making the decision to intervene in our lawsuit. As Wayne Wright pointed out, at the end of the day, it comes down to what's the township's interest. The Marshall Township Board is accountable to the residents of the township, and it is your responsibility to give the people of the township a voice. So I want to thank you for speaking up for your people.
Good evening, Kelly Isaac. I live in the city of Marshall. Spend a lot of time in the township now. About a year ago, there was an election, and I was very proud of the group of people that got elected. That changed a lot, because prior to that, I came to these meetings and there wasn't a whole lot of transparency in my view. Some of the META members want to stand here and claim transparency, but there was a lot of non-disclosure agreements signed, and some by people that sat up there on that board. I'm glad that's not going to happen again. And I'm glad this township is standing up to the city for its rights. I was at the the Joint Planning Commission meeting. I got excited that it was rejected. Obviously the city had a different agenda. Not only did local authorities sign NDAs, we had state level authorities sign them. And I think that's what propelled this whole mega site into being, because the people didn't want it. I'm glad that the township residents are now getting a voice. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lee Rothwell, Marshall Township. Um, I think the Choose Marshall, Not the Mega Site group has really been working hard. I wish that we could be helpful to them. And I am so glad that there is some transparency, because the NDAs should never be allowed to be signed by the people who are representing us. If you can't tell us what's going on, I just don't think that's right. I wouldn't vote for you if you were going to sign them. I really have complaints about that. Also, I noticed in here about the property transfer from Marshall. When everybody, not everybody, but most of the Marshall Township people objected to the 425s, people on the board up there sat and said, well, it really doesn't matter what you think or want. It matters what the landowner wants, which isn't really what the landowners all wanted. It was what Maida wanted. And I know that because friends of mine, before they signed the NDAs, talked about they were not happy, but they were being bullied, told that they would have factories built on all four sides of them, and they would be the only home in that area. Since then, it's been demolished, but, and so if the 425s, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, it's only the landowner, then I'm really surprised that this landowner would have any arguments or pushback about transferring it out of Marshall into the township. But they probably, everything changes when it goes the opposite way, I think. Let's see. It seems like there was one other thing I had to mention on here. Well, the transparency thing, really, I really hope you continue to be transparent. And that was my major thing. But the 425s, when I saw that these people wanted to switch their property, I thought, oh, well, if it had been before, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Whatever you ask for, you should have. So I was thinking about maybe, well, never mind. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Connie?
I didn't see her. Where'd she come in?
Connie Wireman, Marshall Township. I don't really think I need that anyway. I have a couple of questions here. Whatever was decided on the existing old well that the township has, is that being capped or are we keeping it?
We're going to talk about that later.
Okay. The other thing I'm real concerned with and real interested, number 3, Bear Creek property development ideas. What are we thinking about that? Is that going to be clarified?
It's on the agenda.
Okay.
So, hopefully we can answer your questions to both items.
Yeah, because I'd just like to
as we proceed.
keep it from really being taken out of agricultural, frankly. One thing people have to do is eat. I mean, it's great to see new houses, but where's the food coming from? And if we're going to depend on foreign countries like Mexico and Canada for our food, we could be in deep trouble. So I just kind of like to know what further ideas on that. And how is the battle? I hear a little mention that the battle over the 425s is still ongoing. Does it look like we're going to win on that? Anybody have an idea?
I know that we've set the motion to intervene is what happened at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the intervention will, whether the court allows us to intervene. If it doesn't intervene, then we also in that motion had the opportunity that we're going to try to do an amicus brief would be the second thing. So there's multiple steps. It's still up to the court to decide whether the township gets to intervene or not, or gets to
Okay.
be a part of that.
And there is a person with property in the city that's trying to move it into the township?
That's correct. Yeah, that's in that packet. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, I hope he's successful. Thank you.
Any others? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. Move on to discussion items. How do we want to do this? Bring these up one at a time and see if there's action on them or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll bring up the first one, the zoning administrator job description and advertising for position with the attached request from the planning commission chair and vice chair. Is there any discussion on that?
Well, basically, talked about it at last month's meeting, and the chair and vice chair of the planning commission have, and the whole planning commission in and of itself, think it'd be best interest of the township to have a dedicated zoning administrator. The current folks down at SCMCCI are doing a great job, but they have their hands full with multiple townships. And we think we have enough going on in this township that we could really use somebody dedicated to just us. So that's pretty much what the request is. And then at that same meeting, I handed out the township zoning administrator job description. Chair Johnson went out and gathered responsibilities for zoning administrator from multiple townships and just added them to this list. And it's quite extensive. They are responsible for a lot. And it might just be a second or a minute or an hour throughout the job. You just never know what's going to happen with it. But at the time, it was my thinking process. But, I was thinking, how are we going to put all this into an advertisement? Everything that Chair Johnson gathered for the job descriptions for the zoning administrator. But that's not what we really need to do. We advertised back in, what was it? Late 24, I think, for zoning administrator. We didn't get anybody. And I know we had a job description at that point. You just want to touch on the highlights and all inclusive. We'd have a full page in the paper, and we don't need anything like that, but we do need to hit the highlights and things like that. And I'm not sure, hopefully everybody's got to at least review these. If they have any questions for the responsibility, administrative management, financial and budget support actions, public relations and customer service, project coordination and compliance, and then qualifications and skills. Those are just some of the categories for the responsibilities that were presented.
And if my memory serves me correct, because I record those meetings as well, I think part of it's also like having someone here that has access to our records all the time. It's hard with them, SCMCCI, who's out in Athens, that doesn't have access to all of our records all the time, to have a lot of phone tag, and it just takes time for residents to be able to get responses on queries about that, going back and forth. And, as you said, I think the SCMCCI is doing the best they can with what they have, but it is a thing. I will just say, I know we didn't get a lot of applications last time that we did this. So I just, I think it's worth doing. I don't think we shouldn't do it, but I think we may have to think about, like, how else do we post this to get it out to people? Because I want to make sure we get the right person, to do this.
Glenn?
So, yeah, I thought this was very well written. I think the job description is very clear and thorough. Just a comment, I think last time the extent of our posting was on the webpage. We may have done something else that I don't remember, but I think the proposal is really to expand well beyond that. There are job posting boards like ZipRecruiter that's listed, Indeed, which is another one. I'm not real familiar with them because I've been out of the workplace for over 10 years now, but I think these are pretty significant tools that we can leverage, not only to get candidates, but possibly just screen them a bit too. So, I guess I'd like to make this item is the same as item
Yes.
7, I think, on the agenda. So I guess I would like to make a motion that the board adopt the proposed job description as it is, and as well as the request to initiate the search for full-time administrator.
I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to pursue paths to a dedicated zoning administrator. Is there any discussion on?
And I just want to name also, this is different than last time as well, because SCM, CCI will still be able to meet our citizens' needs while we're doing the search, whereas last time we didn't have anybody. And so that was it left the residents without something. So I think this is a different scenario as well, and I think that's good. But I just wanted to not worry the residents that, no, you can still be serviced in that way.
Jeff, do you remember what avenues we took to advertise last time?
I think it was the website and the advisor.
I thought I remember seeing it in the advisor, but.
I think that was it.
Okay.
I have 2 questions just about, I share Glenn's view that this is very nicely laid out and is very thorough. I just wanted to make 2 things clear. I think it's implied in here, but this is, as I see it, it's intended to include all of the provisions that may be spread throughout the zoning ordinance for the zoning administrator to do, that those would be included, and those are included here, at least by general reference. And also the zoning administrator served in the past when it was a staff member as the recording secretary of both the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I think it's kind of alluded to in attending the meetings and in doing the follow-up, but I just wondered what the intention was there, what the thought was.
And your Planning Commission Chair. I didn't know that, so that certainly could be something that could be added to that, Clerk Alba. I think one other thing that was missing, I think Trustee Woods might have made reference to this. I think we also forgot to add the Joint Planning Commission and maybe assistance with that as well in the job description. I can't remember. I knew there was something that was missing in it. So, so we can make those modifications.
But I don't believe this is something that would have to go out into the advertisement for the job.
Right.
So just presented to the possible.
And Indeed is a great resource, having used it myself. It feeds into all those other platforms as well. Same thing with ZipRecruiter. So any of those hiring, type platforms, you can do it from one site. It's not that expensive either. And I'm happy to create the ad. So there you go.
Just a question, Mick, you said something I didn't quite understand. So my understanding is this job description would be what we would post. Are you suggesting something else or?
Well, something more,
3 pages.
yeah.
This is long.
This is a lot for a job posting, I think, initially, like we can cover the bases. I don't know if there's a hierarchy underneath each headline.
So from my experience having, a minor in HR, human resources, I will say that typically you're putting the major information out there, let's say, because notice the hours of work are different. Certainly this board would set the wages. But you would put some of that general information out there, and then with a link, because most of these are electronic, you could have it on our website, and it would open up and expand to the job description. So like you just said, you might have one paragraph with the high level, quick, major important ones, but then the applicant or potential applicant who might be interested could click on it and see the whole job description. That way we're not misleading anybody either. But you wouldn't have the whole job description in an ad.
That works. Yeah.
It'd be an expensive page ad in the advisor.
Do you have a copy, Jeff, of what we sent out last time somewhere?
Probably. I would say we could get it
Yeah, okay.
if not.
I actually think I might even have a copy of it. And it does include the zoning administrator duties that are in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, right.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay.
Oh, just one more. There wasn't a time frame added to the motion on when to kick this thing off. So.
Or who's going to do it? There was in the proposal, I think it said initiate search, and it recommended a subcommittee. I'm trying to find it. I think it was the supervisor, planning commission chair.
Well, that's as far as interviewing. An interview committee, supervisor, PC chair, and vice chair.
So I guess I could modify the motion, I guess, to ask that it happen immediately and that the proposed committee post the job immediately.
When do we, I guess a question with that, like, are we hoping to get a certain amount of applicants before we do it, or do we have like a window that we're receiving applications? Sorry. No, this is, it's like.
The way I'm reading, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
The way I'm reading it is we're kind of, the search portion, if the board accepts the job description, is going to be this subcommittee, supervisor, PC chair, and vice chair. So I think rather than us determining that, they would determine that and probably, the level of work that they can actually take on too, because these are, as I've interviewed many people over my career, and it's quite a tedious process, to go through a thorough interview, so.
Yes.
So
Did you want to modify your motion or make it simple for Jeff to write down?
Let's kind of do this.
I had the first part, the second part's coming in.
The motion be that the board adopt the proposed job description and the proposal from the planning commission to proceed immediately with the recruitment of a planning director, on-premise planning director.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. If one thing, do we want your amendments in there, Jeff?
Which is that?
The clarification of,
No, I think I'm clear with,
okay, I just want to make sure that if those amendments need to be added, we'll,
I'm clear with that.
okay. Okay, let's vote.
Any other discussion? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. You want to do a voice vote on that or a roll call?
Might as well do a roll call.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay, I will vote yes. Treasurer Kowalski,
Yes.
Trustee Woods,
Yes.
Trustee Wright,
Yes.
and Supervisor Bossard absent. 4 yes. Motion.
Motion carries. So we'll move on to number 2, the road commission agreements, 25-26. Trustee Woods. I think they're attached.
Yeah.
In the packet.
Hopefully everybody's been able to review the prospective road agreements that were forwarded to us by the county road department. In the different areas, 17.5 mile road, G Drive North to Old 27, about 1.472 miles, which would include selective tree removal, tree trimming, and the road will be chip sealed. H Drive North in the township line to 15 mile road, approximately 2.999 miles. Chip seal existing road. That's the part that just recently.
Yeah, that was repaved, but they didn't chip seal it,
Yeah,
so.
that's the next step.
Yeah, the next step would be the chip
Prolonging the
seal.
life on that one. Kesselwood subdivision, Trap Rock chip seal, 0.694 miles. The roads involved in that are Alto Relivo Way, Alana Christine Drive to Alto Relivo Way to 17.5 mile road to Alana Christine Drive to Alto Relivo Way to G Drive North, Emily Corlett Keithan Way to the dead end. Also in the Kesselwood subdivision, HMA Mill and resurface, 2.137 miles. Mill and resurface the following roads with 3.5 inches of HMA. Alto Relivo Way to Atlanta Christine to Catherine Trail, Kesselwood Trail to dead end, Catherine Trail to dead end to Victor's Lane, K-Line Way to Catherine Trail to Emily Corlett, Victor's Lane to Catherine Trail to Emily Corlett, Keithan Way to Emily Corlett to 18 Mile Road, Garrett Way to Victor's Lane to Meredith Trail, Meredith Trail to Garrett Way to Emily Corlett, Emily Corlett to Keithan Way to Meredith Trail. So basically redoing every phase street out in Kesselwood. Then the last one, Squaw Creek East subdivision, which includes Squaw Creek Road, Brook Drive, and River Park Drive. Length of project is 6.55 miles. Mill and resurface the road with 3.5 inches of HMA. So, and where did I put my notes? The total cost of what their perspective is $1,524,923.66. The Kesselwood portion of that is $987,056.18. Squaw Creek East portion of that comes out to $298,691.50. So I know that Clerk Albaugh put in a memo in front of the package. If you could
Yeah, go back up to.
go back up to that. Now, the 50 to 80,000, that's just normally what goes in the budget each year.
Yes, basically, when the, after repaving took a rather large jump over the last few years, the board in the past has done chip seal projects. We did do one repaving, that was Preston Drive, and that was done through a special assessment. But those were all businesses. We've never, to the best of my knowledge, ever done a special assessment in residential or agricultural area. And the H Drive project was paid for by other funds. The non-count, I call it, they call it the township share. I call it the non-county share because the township's not obligated. But we can use surplus funds for the purpose of road projects. And I did a quick total of all these projects and the non-county share that the county proposes the township bear, if we did them all, would be $762,462, which would be roughly a little over half of our unassigned fund balance, if it was paid for all in 1 year. In the past, when we did do some, I think towards the end of doing some repaving work, we did them with 3-year installment payments negotiated with the bank at that time. I can't remember, it was the one that changes its name annually. Huntington Bank, that's it. It was Chemical Bank at the time, I believe.
So, the county keeps what's called a PASER rating of all the county roads. So if you go back when we first moved into Marshall Township in '87, the supervisor used to ride around with the road commissioner once a year and rate the roads. You know, the road commission was dissolved and brought into the county and is now the road department. And sometime after that, they started using this PASER process, which Joanne is probably pretty familiar with. But have you seen that and compared that? I don't know where these came from. Did they just send them to you?
I got this from road department.
Was this their proposal? So the reason I'm bringing up the PASER is because it basically, and I've got an Excel spreadsheet of it that I think it's Christine, who's the head of the road department now, gave me earlier this year. It's a little hard to parse, but generally they rate the roads from, I think it's 1 to 5, I want to say. 1 being like bad and 5 being, good. And so I think if they haven't been using that, or maybe we should take a look at it and kind of compare it to what they're proposing.
One thing that I saw, and this was a couple of months ago, was a color-coded graph. And I'm going to reference Squaw Creek because it's where I live. And Squaw Creek East was a dark red. Squaw Creek West, which they just chip sealed, was a little bit lighter red, and the different shades of the different colors and things like that. So, and I haven't been able to find it to look at the Kesselwood area. I did go out and drive Kesselwood a couple of weekends ago, and there are a couple of streets out there that are pretty bad. Nothing like Brook in our Squaw Creek East at all, but they're getting close. But the other ones, I can see where they're bumpy, they've been patched here and there, and I'm sure they would appreciate some work done on their streets like Squaw Creek East would too, so.
Sure. So just again, I think the Pazer document would be good to bump up against what they're proposing. And I think what you're probably speaking of, Mick, is the map version of the chart, right? So if I take the chart, which lists the streets, you know, like you've listed them, or like they've listed them here, it gives it a number, and they probably map that as well. I've asked Christine for the information. For some reason, the road department seems to not necessarily, you know, communicate openly on some of this stuff, but I think it would be a good idea. The other comment I will make, because I live right near there, when Mr. Frankline Jr. put that subdivision in, they were all private roads. They weren't subject to any MDOT construction methods, which the Calhoun County Road Department will tell me that that's their primary road construction standard, unless engineering decides otherwise. And we don't know what those were built to. I mean, I literally lived that whole process. I think Cindy Sink was the clerk at the time, and asking questions about drainage and roads. And there was, and essentially what happened is Frankline Jr. said, hey, I'd like you guys to take over the roads, and the county just said, okay. And they took over the roads. Subsequently, the last paving that's been done, which I believe is Emily Corlett, there's a portion that's brand new where they've extended into a newer area. I got the road department to actually get involved and do some borings, and then he repaved it again. So I assume it wasn't up to their standards. So the only reason I bring this up is I caution us that, you know, when that subdivision, that collection of, I think it was actually done in 3 stages, was built, they were private roads. And then the county took them over. So we don't know if they were made to we don't have a clue what the standards were. And so those property owners bought those houses with that knowledge. So it's something that at least we should consider.
Well, so what you're saying is we have no idea what the base.
Right. Well, base, thickness of asphalt. I mean, if you look at the MDOT standard, it's really clear, and Joanna could speak to this, but it's very clear about, you know, everything from, you know, the sub-pavement, you know, up through the pavement. And there's a reason for that, right? Because they want them to hold up. So I just would caution us a little bit that we don't know what those roads are, and I don't know if the county can do a post-mortem on them and determine if that's, you know, does that change, I guess I would say, the proposal, if it's a substandard base, for example, or if it's a substandard thickness. So I just bring that up because I'm familiar with it.
That's a good question to ask, and I will get.
I think the Pazer, again, I think it's a useful tool to bump up against what they've proposed here. because there could be some other roads that I don't drive that are in worse shape. I have no idea. I know a lot of our roads are in horrible shape, but
Just a question too, like, I mean, how many roads, maybe Jeff might know the answer to this, like, how many roads do we typically try to do within a year? Like, I guess my one concern is, let's say we throw everything, I mean, this is a big chunk, right, for the township, but we do it all at the same time, those roads age roughly at the same time, you know what I mean? And so then it's like, becomes a big cost to replace all that infrastructure all at once again versus staggering it out. So I'm just trying to understand, like, what is the right amount of roads to maybe
How
do?
to stagger them.
Yeah, to stagger it so you're not having like, whatever, how many years down the road and it's like one big, huge chunk when they all go bad at the same time. But maybe that's not, because maybe it has to do more with amount of traffic and, things like that. But I'm just curious, Jeff.
Well, I think in the past with discussions with the road department is they take into account these PASER ratings when they make recommendations, and they take into account also traffic volumes. So they would give priority when they make their recommendations based on a combination of those two primary items. And as I say, our participation has been limited because of the fact of how much money on a continuing basis, and for the concern like that you just identified with regard to big projects, et cetera. So it's hard to put, to say how many miles per se, because some of them have been chip seal. The cost of that has gone up a bit because they now do the fogging as well, because they found it's far more effective than just the chip sealing. So, there's just a lot of factors that go into that.
Just out of curiosity, what is your thoughts on that, the proposal of like, I mean, because you've seen, like, how would this, maybe even Glenn could answer this, how would this put us financially if, saying yes to this versus a part of it, like what is, in your opinion?
Well, the Kesselwood item and the Squaw Creek item have been there for a period of years. But after the bond issue proposal was defeated, the board just did chip seal projects. What it would do to our balance sheet is, as I stated, the amount of money that can be readily assigned as being surplus for the purpose that could be theoretically used for road projects. It could be used for a lot of things, but it could be used under the law for road projects is the $1,403,502. That would not dip into the assigned fund balance of $400,000 that the board has set aside for subsequent years' budgets in case there's downturns and et cetera. There's $23,000 that historically has been set aside for township development that no one ever has seemed to figure out what that's for. It's been in there for decades.
What was your assigned fund balance again?
There are four parts of the assigned fund balance. There's $400,000, and it's on page 7 of the audit report.
Okay.
It's $400,000 is assigned for future budget stabilization purposes, $23,000 for township development unspecified, $282,266 for fire equipment and facilities other than the millage, and then $115,130 is set aside in case you need to replace the furnace or the well goes out or whatever. It's for facility improvements. that has been set aside. And then there's the $1.4 million that is unassigned.
So how is that, the unassigned, how has that grown?
It's grown for years in which, probably the last 10 years, when expenditures did not exceed revenues. And so revenues were in excess of expenditures.
Okay.
And primarily, it can be that we've used conservative figures for state revenue sharing, for example, which is a good thing since the legislature just took some of that away. Not a large amount, but nevertheless, our state revenue sharing is going to be down starting with the January payments a little bit. But that's primarily it. Touchy subject, the PA 425 money. And the other thing is that the casino revenue sharing has been healthy.
From a
And the
conservative.
board, you know, not trusting the legislature with revenue sharing. The PA 425 activity, and then the casino revenue sharing, we're in a tier, several tiers down in distribution of funds. And one of the tiers that's ahead of us is actual costs. And there was always discussion that there was going to be a big chunk of that was going to be used for the water and sewer line situation, apparently, through Emmett Township that had to do with the casino, that has not come to be, at least to any great extent. So we have not experienced a downturn. Hasn't grown a lot, but it's about 160 to 170,000 a year. But the boards in the past have not wanted to appropriate that for a continuing, you know, a continuing operational, required operational. So
Yeah, I feel like
it's all mounted up there.
it's hard because it's like you have this money that's sitting here, and to me, it should be like, in some aspects, be benefiting residents. I mean, I understand that getting it to grow and being conservative to, like, I don't want, you know, if tides turn where our revenue changes, I think we need to have a safe number. But I don't love money just sitting.
Right.
And to me, when I hear people come up, I mean, we have a lot of things come up, but roads comes up a lot at these meetings, you know, and repairing them. I mean, you know, yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
So I guess I would, just to move things along, I'd make a motion that we table this item, but that possibly we take a look at the Paiser document, I guess, and compare it to what we've got here. And I guess that would be the motion. Come back at our next meeting, possibly with some more information.
Before somebody seconds his motion, this could be a discussion point too. But the deadline to reply back to the county is the 15th of December, which happens to be our next meeting night. I can get with Skylar at the road department and say, hey, how about the 16th?
Well, I think, let me just say about that, that in the past, that's been typical, that our board meeting actually has been like 2 or 3 days after their deadline sometimes. And as long as they knew it ahead of time and they knew we were going to, one way or another, take action at that meeting, they've allowed it in the past at least.
Okay, so pre-warned, I'll pre-warn.
But as long as you pre-warn and clear it with them, okay, and give them the date of our board meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
And, yeah.
I'll second that. We'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to table item number 2, the road commission agreements, until the next board meeting. Any more discussion?
Just one very brief comment. To your point, Wayne, I think it would be good, and it's been something I've talked about for many years now. I think it'd be good to have a long-range plan as much as possible, because then we can look at our funding, and hopefully some of our funding will increase over time, because of some of the 425 and the solar projects, which we don't necessarily like, but we like the money. So, I think if we look at that and start planning ahead, we could say, maybe this year it's 700,000, next year, and look at the township in its totality, which I think the county typically has done that. I just haven't seen it in any other form than the Payser. If you remember back to the millage proposal, it was to repair all the roads in 2 years, I believe. And then there was 8 years where, there wasn't any funding. So you take bonds out, you repair all the roads in 2 years, and then who knows? So I think that's a good idea. It's something that we could work toward.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay, did you say voice vote? Okay. So for the motion on the floor, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Table. Next item is the Bear Creek Development property development ideas. Trustee Woods? Anything to add on that?
Wayne came to me prior to the last meeting, mentioned that he had done a tour of the Bear Creek facility with Jim Durian. I guess it was just the two of you.
Yep.
And y'all discussed ideas that Mate has been working on. They have a stakeholder group. I'm not sure who the stakeholders are. I would imagine different business entities around town and other individuals who are really wanting to know what's going on there. I also was invited to tour Bear Creek last Wednesday. Jim Durian and 3 other folks. We toured the facilities. It's a nice area, nice properties. And they are really looking for ideas on what to do with the property.
Can I clarify some stuff?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so let's, the property is currently zoned highway commercial. So I
Highway
just want to make
service,
it, highway service is what it's currently zoned. Currently, it is under the jurisdiction of the MEDC. So it is,
Maida owns it.
With the MEDC's money. So keeping this into consideration of all these things.
That's our taxpayer money.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I understand. The hope is, the park, I want to make it clear, the park is still that thing that they're trying to do. So they want to have a park. That park is still in existence of what in their plan. The buildings on the property is what the concern is. If they just stay vacant in their current state, they will deteriorate, become a problem. And so because they're highway commercial, they need to, from Jim, so I'm going to quote Jim on these things, that they need them to, one, maybe have a business, whether it maybe be like a daycare facility or something like that, that could come into some of those buildings and keep them up, and to show that it could be something that could create a profit to be able to maintain the park aspect of Bear Creek, right? They need to show to the MEDC that this isn't a money pit, but that somehow it will self-fund itself by having some existing businesses that's not going to completely not change those buildings to be something like very different than what they are, but to maybe use them in the existing way that, that they're designed and keep with the architecture of what they are, of what those buildings looks like and preserve them. So, and that also probably comes back to that the MEDC lost a lot of funding through the state budget. And so they're looking at ways to claw back things. And so Jim Durian says he fights every week with them, talking to them of why that this is an important property to the city and to the township residents, that this cannot be just cleared and sold as something else. And so that's, he put together a committee to be able to do it. He talked to me about it, and I said, you need to talk to residents about it, is what I told him. And he asked Mick to go out and also with some other stakeholders as well. But to me, I have said this every single time to Jim, you need to be contacting not just your friends, you need to be contacting the residents, people who agree, but also who disagree with you. And you need to have their input on these things as well. Like, I hear your frustrations and your desire to keep it, but you need to have their input on that as well. I know that, I don't know what was at your meeting, but that is what I told him at that meeting. I don't know if you want to add, but yeah.
So just a caution, I would caution you that Jim Durian, I would caution conversations with him individually. If Jim Durian wants to talk to the township board, he can come to one of our meetings. He can make a proposal. I think it's improper for him to be talking to individual board members, in my personal opinion, and trying to pick us off one by one. At the end of the day, he needs to come to this board meeting, make a presentation. If he wants the board to help him in some manner or have something, then he should come in front of this board.
And I don't doubt that. I will say, by statute, just like any resident can talk to any board member, there are no statutes on being able to communicate with a person. It becomes a thing where I understand you're like, well, I only want it to happen at these board meetings. These board meetings have a very specific legislative purpose that only certain things can happen at this board meeting. So I don't ever want to say like, oh, you can't talk to anyone outside of this meeting, Jim Durian included, but I agree, like if there's going to be a motion or something along those lines, that should be presented to the board, and I agree with that. I don't think that, but I just want to make it clear, when people come and talk to this at this podium, this is great. I love hearing you here, but we also love hearing you outside of just the podium, because I want to hear you beyond the 5-minute, the limitations, because this meeting is the only time that this board can communicate together and have decisions made. And so it's important that we have, I don't want to ever say to community members, you can't talk to board members outside of that. That is not the message. It's not a member of our community. Sorry, and you're kissing I'm not kissing up to him.
Point of order, point of order, point of order.
Yeah, not time for
This is
audience comment.
board discussion.
Yep. Go ahead, Glenn.
So again, I didn't mean to say you can't talk. You can talk to whoever you want. I just would caution you that Jim Durian isn't necessarily our buddy. No. So at the end of the day, if he really has something to say to Marshall Township, there's nothing wrong with talking to people individually. You could talk to anybody in this room, but if he really has something that he wants the township to act on, he can come here, he can start to communicate with us as a board. That's all I said. That's all I was saying. And hopefully
and all I was saying was, that's what I pretty much said to him. I said that you need to talk to residents, you need to communicate with residents about that.
And from my perspective, from my meeting with him and the 3 other folks, MEDA is fighting MADC on this. They are proposing different solutions on how to properly put something in there that'll work. Right now, they're using it for storage. There's somebody in there doing some historian work for the city in the main house. He's got the main room in there. But bottom line is, they're searching for ideas. And I wish he would come to the board and present it to the board saying, hey, officially, we welcome ideas from the township as a whole, present it to us that way. But the bottom line is, Maida owns the property. They can't use a broom to sweep a leaf without permission from METC. So that's where it rolls.
So I guess again, I'm not really sure what he's asking. I'm not sure, you've had conversations. I don't know what we're even talking about. At the end of the day, they own the property. They have a relationship with MEDC. If they want the board, Marshall Township Board or Marshall Township residents to do something, then they ought to communicate that to the board.
Agree, yeah. It was just more of a discussion item than having to take action on. So.
We'll move on to item number 4, November 7, 2025, meeting discussion items.
So bear with us a bit, because Wayne and I spent a couple of hours trying to make this work. So we're gonna try and do something that we haven't done before, so be patient.
Sorry, first I have to get the camera to go to the right thing.
Okay.
And when I say this is Glenn's item. I'm just figuring out the technology on this. If I can do it. Can you move the camera first, Glenn, to the 4?
You want 4?
Because it doesn't love me.
You have to change the camera from Teams, right?
Yeah, well, oh yeah, right, sorry. That's why it's probably not working. There we go, this one. There it is. Aha. Okay. And then you are taking control.
There's a movie called The Time Tunnel.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I threw this on the agenda because I think our November 7th meeting was quite interesting. I felt like we were ambushed a bit from probably both sides of the table, to be quite honest with you. And I thought it was good, at least from my point, to kind of reflect on some of the things. So I put together some video clips and then some specifics. So I'd like to play this video clip and then make a comment.
I'm asking the board first, the vote not be held to go into closed session. Second, as to the decision to intervene in the anti-mega site committee versus City of Marshall lawsuit, I asked the following. Is it even legal for the township to intervene? This is a ballot committee sponsored lawsuit. They are out of money. In the last public filing provided to the county clerk, their attorney has donated over $160,000 to push the lawsuit forward. And I provided you with a copy of that filing. This is effectively shifting the cost of this lawsuit from Mr. Kowalski and his wife and a couple others to Marshall Township and its taxpayers to push it forward.
So just to count, I guess a few comments there. I guess first of all, I think Mr. Lindsay said Mr. and Mrs. Kowalski and a couple others. And this is all public knowledge, public domain knowledge, right? So this is out there. You can all look at it. You can look at every dime that the committee has spent and every donor. There are 177 donors. There were 326 donations. And so what Mr. Lindsay made the mistake of saying was that the law firm of Eklund and Blando made a donation of $160,000. Well, the document that he gave the board clearly says expenditures, right? It says expenditure 1, legal fee, $2,500. This number, if you've ever looked at these documents, and I know he has, it's an accumulative number. So it's a cumulative number of the amount of money paid to this law firm. So the $160,000 wasn't donated by the law firm. That was a lie. Whether it was intentional or not, that was a lie. It was a legal fee that was donated by 177 donors, 326 donations, to pay for the legal costs to fight the city of Marshall and Maida, $160,000. So I just want to make that clear that he lied in that meeting. I'm not going to, we're getting short on time. I'm not going to go through all of these. There was an issue at that meeting on protocol, and I've tried to follow that this evening by raising my hand. I have no problem with that. I think it's up to the moderator to make sure that that happens. What I will not tolerate anymore is negative comments towards me. That's the last time I will tolerate that in a meeting. I'm here to tell you. So you want to make a comment to me and you want to make it negative, you're going to get it but 10 times back to you. So that's all I'm going to say on that topic. So I do want to bring this to the attention because this was a controversial item. I guess I will make a comment as well. I did request that that item be placed on the agenda to the clerk. I'm not sure why it didn't get placed on the agenda, so that would be for the clerk to answer.
Well, I'll answer that right now. I put it exactly as the request came from Mr. Kowalski.
No, that's not.
Yes, you did.
No.
I've got the
But
email.
I'll bring it.
I'm not going to argue with you.
I'm not going to argue with you.
There is a question though. Why wasn't the opinion from the lawyer that when it was sent to you on the 31st, why wasn't it sent to the rest of the board?
I sent the request to the lawyer and copied the entire board, and I thought that that his answer would go to the full board from him, because the next thing that would happen is someone would probably say that I did something to it. I forwarded.
Yeah, Jeff was talking.
I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to discuss any of that anymore, because this board has developed a terrible habit of speaking without being recognized by the chair. It gets confusing.
I don't know that the chair is recognizing anyone at this point. Do I need to be recognized, Dave?
You should be recognized.
Okay.
Before you speak. You say, you either raise your hand or say something to me, and then whoever's first, because when Jeff spoke first, he is the one that raised his hand in the beginning. So,
Jeff, are you done? I guess I'll assume you're done.
yes.
So I think the point here, 2 points that I would make. Number one, was never recognized, but the most important thing to me is this is what I presented. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I do not want people saying things that aren't true in a meeting without backing it up. So this is what I proposed in that meeting. So we got a lot of flack from Mr. Lindsay about transparency of meetings and all this. At the end of the day, that meeting time and date was picked by the clerk and the supervisor. The rest of the board fed in multiple dates and times, so that was picked by them. But here it is for the October 20th meeting, here's my action item or my agenda item: discuss in closed session any action item in open session. Copy to be received by 10:15, which is when we were going to get the legal document. Okay, so when you say that, everything that you put forward was put on the agenda was inaccurate, and here's the document to prove it. I gave it to you that evening. You chose to throw it on the floor. This is the agenda for that evening, and it isn't on there. So I just want to make it clear. I don't want to be told that I've done something wrong or that I've said something wrong when you can't prove it.
That concerns me is the animosity that we've developed in a relatively short time with the city. And I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think we should be bowled over by anyone, the city or the state or anyone, but I think you ought to recognize also that cooperation is a lot better. Reminds me a lot of Congress and why our government shut down right at the moment, and that's because it's a dirty word to talk across the aisle. Well, it's almost becoming a dirty word to have meaningful discussions with the city of Marshall, and I don't think that's good for our township. Our former supervisor worked hard to correct that problem, and I think it's a problem. And so I don't see.
So the fact of the matter is that I think we have actually a better relationship with the city. Wayne and I have met with the city twice now. There were very cordial meetings. I think what you have is you have some bad actors. I think some of them exist on the JPC. I think some of them exist in peripheral roles within the city, potentially in other private corporations. But I believe we're actually making progress with the city. But I'm here to tell you that being buddies with somebody who tells you to bend over every day probably isn't the best relationship. I'd much rather have a friend or a buddy who sees me as more of an equal and compromises. And so I don't see why we can't be assertive with the city of our rights and still be friendly. And if they don't see it that way, then I don't think that's our problem.
I can see a possibility where we start to look at some issues like, there was a discussion years ago where this township board passed a resolution acknowledging that the JPC was advisory.
Okay, so he's making a statement that past boards passed a resolution stating that the JPC was advisory. So before I'm done here, I guess I'll make a motion relative to that, but just moving on.
Thank you. Well, there are two members of the board yet that were here for the original agreement and those negotiations and for the subsequent amendments to those agreements. And so I might know a little bit about intent with regard to that and what the 425 agreements do or don't do. And it's interesting to note that while the original was, the township was represented by a local attorney during that time, that the subsequent amendments were when our current law firm was here, and they were asked to review those amendments and didn't have a problem with it. So there's kind of an interesting, And I kind of had a thing.
So the issue here is that apparently in the past, so if we go back in time, 2006, I believe that's when the first agreement was made. I've heard, I don't know, and there's probably only one person in the room that does know. I believe the lawyer that wrote that agreement, which would have been between the two supervisors, or the supervisor and the city manager would have been Haymaker and Tarkowitz, may have worked for both the city and the township. What I do know is when I read an opinion from Sieber, can't think of her first name, it was full of errors and typos and was probably one of the worst opinions I've ever seen. So on my short time on the board, I respect Rob Fall from that law firm probably the most. And at the end of the day, we had an extensive meeting on December 2nd, and basically Rob Fall ripped up that 425 agreement and said he's probably never seen anything as bad as that agreement in his career.
Ms. Quinn.
So I guess, just another potential discussion point, maybe there's a difference of opinion on that specific item. Do we believe that the Joint Planning Commission in the agreement is advisory, even though the language says they shall have sole authority on the usage of the land? So maybe that's important to talk through, because maybe Dave, maybe you believe it is advisory, and then in your particular, and I don't know that, but if you think it is, then I think that's important to talk through. So I personally believe the language is very clear. I made that clear on May 1st at the extended city council meeting where they overrode the JPC. And I feel very strongly, but I'm just one board member.
Well, at the time when that all went on, I had Roxanne Sieber, who's I guess one of the senior members of our law firm. I asked her for an opinion on it, and she went through, and in the end, she said it was advisory only at that time. So, but you're getting different things right now. So,
so the first thing I did when I took my oath of office is I asked for all the opinions on the 425 development agreements from the past. And I went through them, and I didn't see one opinion where they wrote that they thought the JPC was advisory. So there could have been a conversation with the supervisor, I have no idea. And if there is a document, I guess I would love the board to see that opinion. I guess I would like to make a motion that we find, if there is such a resolution, that we find it and bring it forward.
I agree with that. I guess I probably second that motion, and then we can discuss. Yes, right. I'll second that for right now.
Okay. It's been moved and supported to find a passed resolution regarding the JPC and the 425 agreement. Is there any discussion?
The only thing I'll say on it is there's been multiple times where the township and the city have amended the 425. Even if there is a resolution, which I don't, like you're saying, we should see if there is or isn't, the fact that it wasn't codified in the actual 425 language is something that I think is significant. Because there's been many other times where they have intentionally changed the language of the 425 to say something. And to me, that is not how that's read in our current 425. So, maybe that board, if it exists, if that board wanted it to interpret it at that time to be advisory for whatever situation, maybe that was fine, but it was not codified in the 425 agreement. And that's just something I was thinking a lot about last time. So I'm all for, let's look for it. Let's, I'd love to see that. But that's my opinion, my 2 cents. Are you done sharing? Okay. Do you mind? So I can at least put it back on the board.
I'm going to voice vote on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, wait till it gets done. Okay. Do I need to read the motion again or repeat the motion? I didn't read it, write it. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the FOIA process, number 5 FOIA process and status of outstanding requests. Glenn?
Yeah, so I just put this on there because we, again, at our, I don't know if it was the 20th or the November 7th meeting, I think Mr. Berry had a comment about his FOIA in particular. I just thought it might be a good idea for us all to all know what the FOIA process is at the township. I don't know whether the board wants to be more involved in understanding what the FOIAs were. I think at the October 20th meeting, we made an extension of 10 days because it seemed like something was going off the rails with an appeal from Mr. Berry. So I just throw that out there. I would personally like to understand what the process is. I think we pay $800 a month in part to have a FOIA coordinator, which I believe is you, Jeff. I think you have the office manager at your disposal. I see that. So I've now, because I don't get answers to my questions, I'm now going to start FOIAing the township for information. I don't have any other option that I can think of except coming to the board and making a motion, which I can only do once a month. But I'm going to start FOIAing the township for information that I ask for that I never get. So I've made 2 FOIA requests. One has been extended, one apparently has been denied. So I sent an appeal today to the supervisor because it's overdue. I really don't know what the process is. I sent my FOIA to the FOIA coordinator, and I think he passed it on to the lawyers. So if anyone else wants to discuss that, I guess I would really like to know what the FOIA process is and how it's being handled, and how do we keep track of whether we're in compliance or not. Mr. Berry seemed to say at the last meeting on November 7th that he wasn't getting responses, and he appealed, and whether he got a response to that was acceptable, I don't know. But it is something important, as we all know, in terms of getting information. So.
Do we have, it is a good question. I mean, like.
Any comments?
It's a discussion. If no one else wants to discuss it, we can just move on.
I mean.
I'll just say that I'll provide the information.
Okay.
The information, there's a written process, and I'll provide that to all the board members if you don't have it.
Would it be good to, I mean, this is a question on like helpful links in terms, like, and maybe I could look at the township website, but like, just so that if there is a FOIA question, like, so that they know to make a FOIA and other payments, it has I've never clicked this before. Okay, but it just has, this is the payment stuff, but I wonder if we need to underneath it have something just so that people know, like, send your FOIA request to, because I don't know if most residents know who to send it to, you know.
It should be on there, but I'll
Yeah,
find it.
maybe
I'll
it-
find it and get it to you.
Yeah. Doesn't say.
Would it be possible to separate those into separate links?
Yeah, maybe.
Have just separate FOIA link from the other payments, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, the payment was a minor part of it. That's
Yeah.
that's just for making a payment.
Right.
The policy should be on there somewhere, but I'll,
Or payments within the FOIA process.
if you want to make a credit card or a debit, it's the provision that's on there has to do with any payment to the township, how you make it and what the links are.
Yeah. So maybe if we could just maybe on the helpful links or something.
Sure.
We could just add that. I think that that would be helpful so that residents know the process because again, we want them to be able to get information. So, cool. Glenn?
So I guess I was thinking more about the internal process. I mean, I think, and I agree that I'm guessing it's on our website somewhere, how someone is to make a FOIA application. The law says you just do it in writing, right? So I can just send an email. I don't have to fill out anybody's form. I can do it that way. So I think that part shouldn't be that difficult. There's probably a form that we have, or people can just send an email. I guess I was speaking to more to what happens when it hits the township, because I'm seeing different things. I think the response to Mr. Berry that he didn't like because it contained EML files, I believe came from Carl Fowler. I think Jeff sent at least one of my 2 FOIAs to the lawyers. I've already talked to the lawyers extensively about that particular piece of information, so they're not going to be able to shed any new light because they've given me everything they have. Looking more for what the township has. So what I'm looking for is I'd like to understand how we went from a proposal from Richard Lindsay to have a purchase option on both the township hall and the fire hall in late 2022 to a proposal back to Mr. Lindsay that apparently he prepared, because it says on the document prepared by Richard Lindsay, that then the township board, I think specifically Jeff, sent back to Mr. Lindsay as a proposal for $100,000 a year, and I think it was 13 million for the hall and the fire station. And then as you fast forward, things start to get kind of fuzzy around May of 2023, or we're still talking, somebody's still talking about the hall and the fire station. But then you fast forward to, I believe it was November, I'm going from memory, where, you know, Trustee Ling blurts out, we're getting a new fire station and the town hall is off the table. And my perspective is that this fire station made just under $4 million. For $5 million, we could have had a brand new fire hall and town hall in another location, not across from this mega mess. And I'd like to find out why that happened and who did it. But I don't know what the process is. It seems like sometimes it goes to Carl, sometimes it goes to the lawyers, sometimes it just sits there. So I'm interested in what the process is.
Any comments? Okay. Nothing, Wayne?
No,
Okay.
I can't think, off the top of my head. Sorry. It's late.
Okay, we'll move on then. The escrow accounts, the board directive, yep.
So the 10/20/25 board
Yes, board
meeting,
directive.
had a directive to, I think it was specifically the office manager, to find all of the escrow account information. And so I'm still asking the question, where is the money kept? What's the status of all the escrow accounts? And I don't know what the status of that directive is.
Do we know, like, yeah. Do we have any knowledge on that, Jeff, by any chance, or the escrow?
Yeah, well, I provided Carl after the October 20th board meeting with what information I had, which was not much. It was basically the last reports of the three escrow accounts that were maintained by the zoning administrator that had not been updated since, because it wasn't in the contract for them to do. And also I was able to locate the escrow policy that the board adopted, that a previous board adopted some time ago. And he was going to be going through, when I talked to him last week about it, he said that he was in the process of going through the planning files and also through files that he had access to from Paul to try and piece together if there was any further information before he provides that to the board.
Okay. So you're saying Carl's currently looking to see if there's any additional information on that?
He's doing the file by file, which Nick is familiar with, going through file by file. But
yeah,
he's in the process of going file by file to see if there's any further information.
Okay. Thanks. When we get that information, it sounds like there's a gap right now with, you know, what Paul did and then what FCMCCI is doing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything been done since Paul left.
Right.
With regard, the zoning administrator did that.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, another reason why zoning administrator is an important thing.
Yes.
The planning commission has said, so, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Item 7, zoning administrator, the discussion and job description.
So we
already had the motion on that one. Status of the JPC communications?
So yeah, I had put this on the agenda because I think at the time Supervisor Bozzard was having some discussions with the city on this. I think Mick pretty well covered what he understands the status is, and you probably know it as well as anyone else. Joanna may know it as well, but my understanding right now is that tomorrow evening at 7, there'll be a reenactment which will allow public comment that was illegally avoided at the last JPC by a chair that can't be a chair because his term has ended. So they're going to reenact that and allow public comment. And then at 7:30, there's a larger agenda. However, they've placed the election of officers at the end of that meeting, which doesn't seem appropriate in any way, shape, or form because they don't have a chair because the chair termed out in 2024. But to Mick's point, it seems like it's still unsolved. Our lawyers have sent them a letter being very clear. I think I've been very clear with them personally. And I don't know I guess I can't, we're not going to know exactly what Supervisor Bozzard
No,
found out, but.
Supervisor Bozzard, I know, has had 2, possibly even 3 conversations with City Manager Perry on this, and they discussed well, seem to be of like mind. Now, we know what Supervisor Bozzard, we had, JPC members had a meeting with him last week, just to touch base and see where everybody was at. No idea what the city side's doing, but basically, by the agenda, they're going backwards. So that's where we're at right now.
To restate so that I understand, so I just want to make sure I understand. So you guys have met, well, Bossard has met with them, and they had some discussions. They seem to be aligned on those discussions with Perry, right? Essentially, and what was that alignment? I guess is my question. Can you, I just want to make sure it's clear for people out here, like when you say like they're aligned, or
It was,
what the JPC members meeting with Bossard, what does that alignment maybe look like, just so that people understand?
it was more of an alignment on, I lost it now, just on ideas. It wasn't a set, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. It was just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking that I'm going to talk with my guys on. And we sat down and discussed with Dave, gave him, our thoughts on it. And a lot of it centered on, should we be putting forth different candidates for the election on both sides? And that was never the problem. It's not a personal issue. It's a procedural issue from the get-go. And I understand the Master 425 agreement prescribes the Joint Planning Commission, but the Joint Planning Commission has rules and procedures that directs what it does.
Right.
And somewhere along the line, that rules and procedures for the Joint Planning Commission are just an afterthought to our counterparts. And there's been emails, texts, attorney letters, discussions with Supervisor Bowser and City Manager Perry, and this is where we're at.
So I think it's important to maybe make public that our joint planning commissioners want to be able to do their jobs. They want to do it. They want to be able to follow it, but they need them to be able to follow the rules and the guidelines that are laid out in our 425 agreement. So that's all that the JPC is asking. They're saying, our members are like, hey, we just want to make sure that this is our stake in the claim of this, how this works. We want to make sure that these rules are followed. We're happy to look at applications that come across the table and talk about them and discuss them in this open forum. But the rules need to be followed, and we need to have this procedure to be taken care of, and that's not happening in those meetings.
And the rules, the process is that the city's director of community development sets the agenda for the Joint Planning Commission. She's they're the ones that generates the agenda for that day. And, there's 3 members, 3 planning commissions from the city and 3 planning commissions from the township that sit on the Joint Planning Commission, so.
And the next meeting is tomorrow, so, I'm sorry.
No, I'm going to raise my hand. Yeah, so again, this may be going back to, I'll try to make this brief, but, I think the question is, Derek Perry's a city manager, right? He's not an official. In my opinion, you've got a bad actor in Banfield, because he seems to come up with some crazy idea that he's still in his first term because because he as chair didn't hold any meetings to elect officers. But the document clearly says a term for an officer is 1 year. 1 year is 1 year. What's 365 and a quarter days, whatever. So I think you've got a bad actor, and the question is, how do they move that bad actor out of the way so they can move forward? It's pretty clear, and I guess it's up to the city. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a city problem. The only thing I would disagree with is, who sets the agenda. I understand what you're saying. It does change, obviously, depending on the geographic location, because the township would play that role if it was a residential situation outside of the I-69, 94 area. So if it was north, it was like in my neighborhood, for example, that somebody wanted the 425, the township would take on that role of setting the agenda, so.
Any more discussion on this item? Okay, let's move on to 8, the status of the we already got that. The updated zoning map and the 425 transfer list.
And I think Mick covered that portion, and I'll just make a quick comment that I am working with William Dopp, the treasurer of the city of Marshall, because my concern is apparently the township didn't keep any records of any significance. We found one list was handwritten, and we ended up getting that from the lawyers. I don't have anything that says, here's what was transferred that I can equate to a dollar amount that William has sent us. They sent us a check, my memory says, for $208,000, okay? And he's got a list of, Kmart and so on and so forth. Well, that doesn't mean anything to me. They were parcels. Actually, they were legal descriptions that were transferred that probably equated to parcels back then, possibly equate to completely different parcels now. And so with your guys, the work you're doing, and hopefully what I can work with William Dopp, we'll have a document that he sends me every time he sends me a payment where I can track the fact that we're actually getting the money that we're owed, because right now, we don't really know. I mean, I'm not saying I trust William Dopp. I think he said 10 years ago when he took the job, he dug into it and made a list. And I believe he has worked at that earnestly. It's just, it's kind of a trust but verify kind of a thing that I just.
And you're looking for specific amounts.
Right.
Per parcel.
Right. Yeah. And the one thing to remember too is that we don't always make out great on a 425 transfer. At the end of the day, we get whatever the agreement says. And as we know, in the case of the Blue Oval, even though we're going to get quite a bit of money, and I don't know how it compares with all the houses that were demoed and that type of thing, but we're at the mercy of the city in that case for tax abatements, and they gave Ford Motor Company a 50% tax abatement. So we don't always make out as good as we think we do in terms of taxes versus 425 pass-throughs.
Any more discussion on the 425s? Okay. Number 10, the mass communications system. I think we touched on some of that.
I appreciate that.
But there is the one question there. I think I read something in an email about this. Is the office manager entering them into MailChimp? I think he is, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Thought I read that in an email. Okay. Any other discussion on that?
Do you know what his process is going to be on that, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
What his process is going to be once he completes one How's he gonna identify
I
it?
don't know. I'd asked him today if he's been entering them, and he said yes.
Okay.
So I don't know what the process is.
I shall ask him personally, just to get the information from the planning
Yeah.
commission. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the old business. You want a motion to approve the following agenda items? The old business and the new business?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll say.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to approve the following agenda items, the old unfinished business and the new business. Voice vote on that?
Well, no, we'll go through.
Are you gonna go through one by one?
Yeah.
Okay.
One by one.
We'll make them.
And then if somebody wants to have one singled out for a vote, or otherwise we'll take them in mass. But the minutes of the 10/20/25 regular meeting, Glenn on today provided some clarifications and corrections, and I checked with Mick, who kindly took the notes from that meeting for me as I was absent. And so it should be that the minutes of the 10/20/25 regular board meeting and the corrections submitted by Treasurer Kowalski be approved.
So what are we gonna do? We're gonna make a motion on each item?
Well,
He's saying,
Trustee Wright and Woods made a motion.
Made a motion to approve.
To approve the items.
Okay.
So this is the consent agenda, right?
So, yeah, unless
Just
somebody
a
wants
consent to
something.
the agenda, and then we'll go through each item by
But we
item,
just
correct?
go one by one
Right.
to discuss.
Right.
And if somebody indicates that they'd like that voted on separately,
Okay.
then we would separate that out.
Okay,
But I wanted to clarify that on items 1 and 2, the motion to approve would include the corrections that Treasurer Kowalski submitted on both the 10/20 and the 11/7 minutes.
okay. So is there any discussion or questions on the motion? Other than the questions I had, what I was doing?
No, so we're just gonna go through the discussion
George.
of each one and then we'll vote.
Right.
Okay. So we're gonna go through before we vote then. Okay, so we've ordered, do you want to do the minutes or the number one?
I think Jeff kind of did 1 and 2. Is that correct, Jeff?
Yeah.
One or two.
So then.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
That they've been corrected.
That they would have.
They have corrections, yes.
So then we're now on 3, I would say.
So we're now on 3.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, the abandonment of the old well.
And I just attached to the agenda what the supervisor sent to me.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Is the abandonment that, like Connie had asked that question about, does that mean that the well could be reopened and resurfaced if we have a need for it in this, how this is being done? Yeah, okay.
Good.
Well, so I dug into this a little bit today because when I was looking at the agenda, there's, as you saw, there's 2 drastically different quotations. So I called both companies. So I think with Dave, and I'll speak to what I think Dave wants, but since he's not here, I think he wanted to save the well. I think that was actually it was a board's decision and to look at. Both proposals would be a simple modification to the wellhead that sits out there that supplied the township hall that would allow direct access at the wellhead. So in simple terms, there'd be like a faucet. You could hook up a hose to it, turn the faucet on, flip a switch, and however many gallons a minute that pumps will come out. what I couldn't discern, talking both of them, because one's $3,800 and one's $600.
I know.
Was, what are you talking about? And so I think it's probably something that we need to table, because I think, I talked to Sebastian and he says, yeah, this is what we could do. We're not electricians, so you just wiring, blah, blah, blah. And so there's kind of like, maybe it's not really $600. I talked to Aaron Reed about what was disconnected. He thinks the wiring might still be there, that Katz actually decommissioned the well. But when I talked to Ryan Katz, he didn't seem to know anything about it. So again, I think we just have to do a little work. Sebastian said he would come out Wednesday to give us a very clear quote. So I think maybe we just table it till the next meeting. I don't think there's any urgency, but.
So you're making a motion to table number 3. I will second that.
That we can vote on separate.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to table item number 3, the abandonment of the old well.
That can be a voice vote.
Okay, we'll do a voice vote. Any discussion, Nick?
Seeing as how that's the last item of old business, could it just roll up into 1 and 2 also for the vote?
Well, I mean,
Or not.
we'll do a consent agenda. What happens is after we go through 4 through 9, we'll vote on that to approve. And that 1 and 2 will already be doing. We're just saying we're pulling
Number
3
3
out.
I got you.
and tabling it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So voice vote on the tabling.
Any more discussion? Okay, just do a voice vote. All in favor of the motion to table the abandonment of the old well, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
For new business.
Okay, we'll move on to the new business. Item number 4.
You have the checklist.
Yep, the checklist is in the packet in the amount of $62,789.82. Do you need to pull that out or just?
Nope.
Go on? Okay.
So,
Glenn?
So, just some questions. Looking at the bills, there was I think this was on a credit card, there was a health department charge, $122. Do we know?
That was a permit that they had, the firemen had to have for the open house.
Oh, to check the hot dogs?
Of course. And I noticed there were a lot of health inspectors there.
I just had a question, Joanna's probably left, but I'm assuming the bills that we have from SCM CCI that, I think the way we set this up was that the planning commission, I think chair, was gonna kind of sign off on hours. Is that?
I send it to both her and the supervisor, and
Gotcha.
unless they tell me something otherwise, I put it on the list.
There was a bill for non-community water supply annual fee from Eagle.
Yes. See that drinking fountain back there that we're required apparently by code to have? Well, in order to operate it, you have to have a permit from Eagle and from the Calhoun County Health Department.
Right.
Wow.
And then these are actually, a couple of these are just left over from the last meeting on the 20th, but we had a bill from Plant Moran for $12,000. That was the audit, I believe.
Yeah, that was actually the first, that should have been the first payment, but they didn't send it to us.
Then kind of a somewhat, I don't know, it's a topic that Jay and I have talked about, and actually Aaron as well, but we got a $500 and some water bill. Actually, it was $1,000, but I saw your note that said Maida's got to pay 500 and some dollars of it, but are we gonna have to pay $500 a month for, I think what Jay is telling me is that was a cost for the meter, the 3-inch meter. Are we, because I don't think we've used a ton of water.
No.
So do we believe that we're gonna have to pay $500 a month to the city just for the meter?
That's what they put on the bill for their readiness to serve charge.
And this includes both, so my understanding is there's a 4-inch line that services the fire suppression system, which we pay an annual fee, no meter, it's not metered, it just, it's there in case the place burns down. And then there's a 3-inch, they luckily reduced it from a 4 to a 3 that feeds the building, all of the bathrooms and showers and whatever else. And that has a meter fee, and then I think there's some other fee, but I didn't see that in the bill. So I guess it's just something.
Is it a one-time thing or is it
I
a
don't
monthly
think,
thing?
that's what I thought it was, but I don't think it is. So, because it's already, and I've asked a couple of business owners that I know in town, and they get,
Every single,
the
wow.
bill is 2 parts. They get a actual usage and a readiness to serve.
Wow.
Yeah, the usage was only $11.69. So
You might want to add that to your subcommittee that's discussing water franchising.
Goodness.
Is this something that Jay could possibly look into, see what the city's paying for, city fire department's paying, and
Well, that is the fire department. Oh, you mean in the city?
The city.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
see what their
Pays itself.
see what their payments are for the different things that we're being charged for, and
He is looking into it, but I don't know that he's gotten any answers yet. So it's just something to be aware of. I guess we'll keep an eye on it, and if it's $500 every month, I guess we'll have to, the fire board will have to budget for it.
they can't tax you, but they can fee you to death.
Yeah.
The next one I had was, and I think this is a good thing, but it was install a new hot water recirculation pump and reworked water line by heater. And I think Mick had said something about it, but what did we correct?
Well, in that room, those behind door 2 there, the double doors, they're way in the back is the hot water heater for the whole building, et cetera. And there was a pump on it so that you have water pressure. And we noticed the water pressure wasn't great. And so we changed the little things on the spigots, thinking that was it. Always start with the cheap stuff first. And that wasn't it. And so when the plumber was out, GLGC was out, they went back and they looked, and that pump hasn't worked for a while apparently. And it's original equipment pump, so gotta have water pressure.
So it's hot.
For the hot water.
Hot water. Okay, so
that-
it's like a booster pump.
Yep, it's a booster pump.
Carl find out why there was no hot water.
Now there is. Why gravity doesn't always work.
So in the, there was a $1,300 bill for hedge bushes, trim pine trees, clean up property line, off fencing pine cones. Was that at the cemetery?
It's the annual fall cleanup at the cemetery.
Cemetery.
Okay.
Yeah, this one, inspections. Okay, we had another, maybe this is the follow-on. Another bill from Plant Moran for $13,280.
Yeah, they bill in two installments, the progress billing and the final billing. The annual audit.
Do their work.
And then there was a Barracuda email archiver cloud for $1,200. I assume that's some sort of additional backup to the server.
Yeah, without having the bill in front of me, it would be something Greg forwarded.
Yeah, it's from Venture Technologies.
Yeah.
And that was it. Thank you.
Move on to number 5, the cyber insurance coverage renewal in the amount of $2,189 as recommended by the insurance consultant.
Yep, we pay that most of our insurances, the policies start July 1st. This one, for some reason, starts January 1st. And I looked up last year, the premium was $2,170.
Number 6, the Preston Drive Special Assessment Installment. Payments number 7. It's also attached.
So is this something we have to do every
year
until it stops, till
Yep.
till the assessment period stops?
Yes.
So those are on the tax rolls.
Yeah, originally there were 5 properties, but Oaklawn and one other property, they paid theirs off, thereby saving the small amount of interest.
Number 7, 2025-26 annual budget adjustment. Number 1, that is attached.
Yes, mostly these are revenue adjustments. And they recognize the changes from our work set, from that were developed earlier this year. And it's largely self-explainable there. The decrease in the property tax revenue estimate and the fire department millage are due to the PA 425 adjustments. And the tax administration fees are related to that. The state revenue sharing shows a minor adjustment. Some of that is their updated state estimates. Some of that is due to economic conditions, but a very small part of it is that effective with the revenue sharing for effective January 1st, the sales tax on gasoline or gasoline product is no longer will be taxed for sales tax purposes. Instead,
Going to a gallon tax.
Instead, that'll be part of the gas tax. And by doing that, what happens is it takes it out of what the state has to share with us for state revenue sharing, because we get a percentage of sales tax, and it puts it over in the gas tax, which means that the county and the state will get more money for roads. And so there's only like there's like 3 months that this affects in our current fiscal year. It'll affect our entire
Next year.
next year, and it'll be closer to about $15,000 less than normal out of our estimate. So we'll get about $330,000, before they make adjustments for the whatever the economy's doing at that time.
I saw an email from Joanna that she asked a question that I thought was interesting about the PC submitting a budget totaling of 66,100. She goes, I do recall an increase suggested for the master plan. However, there's a difference in enforcement of ZBA. So she was asking, but I did wonder, like, with us looking at the master plan next year, do we need to think about that from an amendment? Or do we kind of take that when we get there?
Well, we added some money
Okay.
this year to that budget. The budget for the planning commission is as it was submitted from the planning commission, but we made some adjustments to it.
Add to it.
We added to it.
Okay, I just was curious because I was like,
That
oh,
hasn't
we need to think
changed.
about,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, for next year's budget, you know, we'll have to look at that again.
Okay.
Glenn?
Item number 4, increase 425 property tax sharing from 106 to 208. 208 is what we got. There will be additional monies coming, hopefully, before our fiscal year ends, from 2024 taxes from the city. They did a July border review and corrected their error of not putting the 425s on their tax rolls. Unfortunately, they didn't uncap several of the properties, so they have to go back to a December border review to uncap those properties. Hopefully shortly after they give all that to the county will cut a check to the city, and the city will cut a check to us. Don't know how much that is. And I guess we can just make an amendment at that time, but there will be more money coming from 2024 taxes that were owed, or to us, they're not taxes, they're payments from the agreement. To the city, they're taxes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that won't affect, this will be the weird part, but it will not affect our revenues for this year, although we'll get additional money, you know, this year, but it's an item that we have to flag and the auditors adjust a prior year. So it goes into fund balance is where it goes.
Yeah. Thank you.
And the only other item I had was, we did pass, we passed a couple things on October 20th. One of them was the deputy treasurer's pay. And so that did hit, it's a small amount, but I think it was like a maximum of $1,000 or something. So I don't know if that needs to be on this amendment, if we need to amend the treasurer budget by that amount, but that was the memo that was approved by the board.
We can do that, either that or there will be at least one more, unless something major happens. There usually is one in February where we do a wrap up and catch things like that.
I guess it's just a note that was.
I saw that and I put it in the folder for that.
That's all I had.
Anyone else? Okay. Move on to any other matters.
Well, there's number 8.
Number 8.
Yeah, what that is I've had a couple of requests to pay planning commission members for committee things, and we've never done that before. I don't know why, why it has not provided for that, but we have not done that before for members of boards and commissions. And so I prepared this is really an amendment to proposed amendment to the General Appropriations Act that would authorize members of statutory boards and commissions who are appointed to committees created by that board or commission for attending any posted meeting of the committee at the rate established otherwise in this provision, which is currently $60. Not to exceed 2, but you know, if you want a limit on it, if not, that language can be stricken. And I gave some estimate, I think. No, it was hard to make an estimate of what financial impact. It wouldn't be a great amount, but there would be some additional cost, obviously, if members of committees of the statutory boards were paid. So it's whatever pleasure the board has. I think my own personal opinion is I think that committee work's important. I know how much work Mick put in and others into the items. I know that you and Joanna, as a kind of a de facto executive committee, you know, have things that you got and you deserve to be paid for those too, as far as I'm concerned. So I would be in favor of it, whether there be a limit or whether the limit be higher than 2 in a calendar month. I don't know what your pleasure is in that.
Glenn?
So I think that, you know, 2 is a good start. I'm wondering, could we put some language in there that it, you know, if there's extenuating circumstances that the board could, or maybe the board could anyways, prove it at a board meeting.
Yeah, we can. The attorney tells me we can, first of all, we can do this. We can authorize and we can put whatever rules that we want on it, and it can be changed. It's not a statutory officer's salary, so you can change this anytime.
I'm for that. I think that sounds good to me. Yeah, and I like the additional language of, you know, if it goes beyond that, we can talk about it at a board meeting and, you know.
You can always swap out 2 with X. You can always swap out 2 with X.
Or we can just strike that part of the language, you know, and monitor it.
Right.
You know, and if it looks like it gets out of hand, then you can put a limit on it.
Like, okay, at your weekly coffee meeting. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I think I prefer option 1. Let's start with this, and then if it needs to go higher, we can make the decision at that time.
Okay, everyone good on that? Okay, now we'll move on to number 9. I X'd one in front of myself. Any other matters that may be properly brought by a board member before the board? Anybody have anything? Glenn?
Well, and I apologize, I might have missed this, but I had some questions on just the budget report, which I think it's the through September report.
That was what was attached to this, yeah. That was part of the
general appropriations.
Yeah. That was part of
the budget adjustment?
Yep.
Okay, so I missed that, so can I talk about it now? Can I?
I'd be happy to.
So I just had some questions. So it looks like, so I just quickly went through that report in particular. It looks like we have some areas where, so for example, the voted current tax, we budgeted $217,991, but there's 0 activity.
Correct.
Because
you haven't sent out the December 1st tax bill.
Okay, so
that and the fire millage and the winter administration fee are based on the December 1st levy. So it'll be collections in December, January, and February that will be credited to that.
So, but why wouldn't summer taxes be in there?
We haven't, our
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
township
we don't
doesn't
have
levy
it.
summer
I should know
taxes.
that. And then the PA, so I was looking for the PA 425 payments. I found the one from, it says PA 425, State Farm, Northfield, blah, blah, blah.
Yep, that's it.
Okay,
And we received that payment in October. And so if you look at the October report, which was in the reports back at the first part of the meeting,
okay,
you'll find that the 208's there.
okay. I think that answers all my questions.
Okay.
Just one thing on me. I just got this today. So sorry. So I wanted to give this to the board members real fast because I literally printed it out right before I came. Jim Durian, so like at the October 20th meeting on the agenda was talking about Long Street living furniture store, and there was a lot of community support about supporting them to try it because the reroute of Michigan Ave has really kind of harmed their business and stuff like that. So I said to Jim, he's like, we need to, he's trying to create a solution so that they can move to where Doors Unlimited used to be, I believe it is. And so they're petitioning the MEDC through the MSF board to be able to do that. And he's like, and there was basically community support in that. So he just sent me the letter basically saying, this is what Maida's sending to try to get that to happen at no cost to that existing business. And he asked if it was okay that we say that we support that it costs nothing for that business to get relocated because of the rerouting harming them from MDOT changing the direction of that road. So I believe from that October 20th meeting that it was clear that there was community support and the board was supportive of supporting this decision, but I just wanted to make sure that you feel good about that. And then I could draft up a letter that we also, that would be sent to the MSF board members to do it. But this is literally just what Maida is sending. The question is, we want to put our own letter of support, we can do that. But I just, it sounded like from the October 20th board meeting that was encouraged. So I just wanted to let you know the status of that more than anything else, but I just received that today. I just want to make sure I have your blessing on sending something to support that. Is that sending a letter to the MSF board to support the transfer of this land at no cost?
But we don't have a letter, or?
We do not have, because I said I didn't want to do it until I saw how they were wording theirs, and I just got theirs like yesterday, so.
Yeah, is it a motion or what?
Yeah, I'd like to put it officially as a motion. So I will say, I would like to be authorized from what it sounded like from the October 20th meeting. So authorized to write a letter of support to the MSF board to support this transfer of land for Long Street Living Furniture.
I'd second that.
Okay, we have a motion for a support letter. Is there any discussion on this?
Whose signature will be on the letter?
I think it should come, I mean, if it's from the board, I will draft it. I would then send it to Dave, I would say, and he would sign it on behalf of the board. Does that sound right to everyone else?
Will the rest of us get to see it or not?
I'm sure. I am perfectly fine with sending a copy of it to the whole board.
So, and I've just been quickly reading this. I'm not, I don't know what our letter would say, other than I agree wholeheartedly in supporting the action. I mean, they're making statements of 20 employees and $200 to $300 of new capital investment, stuff like that.
This is a lot
I think
lengthier.
we would probably want to stay away from some of that, maybe because I have no idea,
Right.
to be honest with you.
I would
definitely-
put a shorter revised one. Yeah. Sorry.
Any more discussion?
I'm all for, supporting them to the full extent that we are allowed. So I think last meeting, we were going to do a letter of support for Long Street Living to them, I believe is what it was. I'm not sure what status of that is.
To Long Street.
I thought we,
Sounds familiar, but
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify because I was not at that meeting and I only saw it through the recording. So I just wanted to make sure I understood what was actually decided from that meeting. So I would like permission to send a letter to the, obviously I'd send it to the board. You can all mark it up, whatever. We get it approved by Dave, and then Dave would then sign it, and then we could pass it off to the MSF board. Yes.
Sven?
my only question is, we could definitely CC Long Street Furniture, right? Which would kind of accomplish what you said, Nick, right? I think. If we send a letter to the Michigan Strategic Fund,
well, actually,
we support it, and we copy Kevin, I think,
Yeah, Kevin.
then we kill two birds with one stone.
Sure. I'm happy. Once we get the final, we're like, this is what was signed, we can send a letter to both. I'd be.
and just going back to the minutes that were supplied from that October 20th meeting, a discussion item, does the board want to send a letter of support to MEDA for assistance to Long Street Living Furniture Store? Which was, even though you weren't here, you were the one that put the item on the agenda, and the consensus of the
Yes.
board was to do so.
Okay. Okay.
So if the board feels like this will kill two birds with one stone,
Okay.
So let me take a liberty with your motion.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
So would your motion be then to authorize a supervisor to sign a letter of support for relocation of Long Street
That's perfect. Let's do it like that.
to be drafted by trustee Wright
Correct.
with a copy to Long Street?
Yes.
sounds
And it's to the Michigan Strategic Fund, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's best, should we go, MEDA's putting together all these letter supports. We could make the choice of either doing it directly to the MEDC ourselves, I guess. Or we could have MEDA put it within their packets. That's a question. Would you prefer to do it? What would the board prefer? Doesn't matter.
I say send it to everybody, but
Okay, send it to everyone. Let them all know. Okay.
that way no,
originals to everybody.
either all be slated or no be slated.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's.
Auto pen. It's kind of a final action, so we had to do a roll call.
Okay.
So
we could make it even a little simpler if the maker of the motion to approve our other
Can we
action
make
items.
an amendment to add my motion number 9 to the consent agenda? Would someone second that?
Well, you could, without objection, you two made the motion and seconded it. So if you don't have objection, you can include that.
Do you object to my adding my motion in with the consent agenda?
no problem.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Now we can take one vote.
I'm into
Yeah.
expeditiously.
Yes, expeditiously. Right.
That boat sailed.
Oof, they're swimming now.
Well, hey, we're just about the norm now.
So the motion was made by trustee Wright, supported by trustee Woods, to approve items 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and number 9, which is the Long Street letter.
Correct.
So if we're ready for the vote, I can call the roll. Treasurer Kowalski,
Yes.
trustee Woods,
Yes.
trustee Wright,
Yes.
Supervisor Bozzard absent, and I vote yes. 4 yes.
Motion carried. Discussion of any items, agenda items? I guess we already did that, didn't we?
Yeah, we already did that.
Well, that was all, any other matters. This is a discussion of any, but I guess we've discussed everything, haven't we?
Yep.
Okay, then we'll move on to public comments. First come, first serve.
Can you help me on this?
Marshall Township. I just wanted to reiterate and point out again, so that it's clear to people, that Richard Lindsay chose to lie, bully, and to intimidate the board at the meeting on November 7th. That speaks to his character. Keep that in mind. He attacked the integrity of the Committee for Marshall, not the mega site, which is very offensive. As Glenn mentioned, the committee has worked hard with the support of many dedicated people. And I take extreme offense to Richard Lindsay's comments. He also claims that the committee is out of money. That's just another lie. He has no idea of where we are financially, although it's public record. If he chose to look that up, he would know where we're at. But we're not out of money, and we have plenty of support to move forward. Richard Lindsay tried to intimidate the board last time about talking how much taxpayer money are you going to pay for this intervention. It's from the discussion just most recently about the fire station, it seems like nobody's worried about tax dollars for the increased monthly expenses at the fire station. So why, that's just something to keep in mind moving forward.
Joe Harris, Calhoun County. In regard to FOIA, okay, a couple of things you can write down if you would like to. You're looking at MCL Act 442 of 1976. As Michigan State Legislature law, you can go and read that. That'll tell you everything you need to know about FOIA. In addition, you have the State of Michigan FOIA Handbook, which you can look online. It's a PDF, 62 pages long. Just a couple things to know about FOIA. There are some time limits on it in regard to requests. You have about 5 business days to respond and the like. And long story short, if you don't do it properly, the township can get sued. They were between $1,000 and $7,000, depending on what the offense is. So FOIA is very, very important, but those 2 things are good starter places to look into FOIA. Not to necessarily bring up MEDA, but I have to bring this up. A friend of mine from Ceresco sent this to me, and some of you may know this, some of you may not. But TOL Companies Incorporated, don't know if you know who they are, but they're a real estate agency. I believe they made an announcement that they're partnering with MEDA right now. I'm thinking it's probably due in part because the MEDC is going to go defunct. That's just my guess. And the same day that they said that they were partnering with MEDA, conveniently 220 acres went up for sale on F Drive. So what does this all mean? Well, understand MEDA is a 501c3 nonprofit. TOL Incorporated is a private company. This means that neither one of them can be FOIA'd, absolute zero. What it means is more backdoor dealing. It means more deals out of the public eye. It means that no one's really going to know what goes on that properties that TOL decides to sell or act upon behalf of MEDA. So really the only way anyone can find out anything is if MEDA or TOL emails or sends documents to the city, then maybe you'll find something out. But that's just something to pay attention to. That just recently popped up, just kind of an FYI on that, pay attention to that. This is going to affect people statewide, but pay attention to the Michigan State Legislature. I don't know if anyone knows this, but there is in the Senate, they have proposed about utilizing water rates based upon a person's income. So what they want to do is the more money that you make, the more money you're going to pay in water. That is a true legislation that's going to affect every single person within the state. In particular, it's going to affect seniors more than anybody. You think about the young families that are starting out, they may have 3, 4, or 5 kids, however many. They don't make as much money as the older seniors do, or older people do. So they're going to suffer more than anything. That's just some legislation to pay attention to. The other thing to pay attention to, the data centers. I've been doing some research in data centers. Pay attention to that. That is a new thing in Michigan. If you want to look at how data centers are affecting land, how they're affecting the environment, look at the state of Georgia. Data centers, they suck up water like nobody's business. You're talking millions upon millions of gallons a day just to cool that equipment, in addition to the electricity pull that comes from the grid. It's not a good thing. Don't let them try to sell you on that. I'm putting the warnings out there now. Just kind of pay attention. That's about all I got. Hopefully I can help you. Yes?
I have a question for Joe.
Go away.
Where did you say that property was?
So, hang on, let me pull it, I'll tell you right where it's at.
Didn't quite catch it when you
It
mentioned.
is 1650 F Drive. It's about 220 acres. It's for sale. Popped up on social media. They both popped up around the same day.
South or north?
Doesn't say, I'm sorry, just it says in Marshall, Michigan.
It would be F Drive South, next to I-69.
Yep, correct.
Lions used to own it.
Yeah, I saw something posted on that particular piece here a couple of weeks ago, yeah. Right.
Just letting you know. Thanks.
Yes, Regis Klingler from City of Marshall. Just a couple things that I observed. One thing, when you're looking for a new township zoning administrator, you might consider, I think there's a township, Michigan Township Association, which you could probably advertise there. I'm sure there must be a zoning administrators association, which you'd probably want to advertise there. Just some logical places to get the word out. The people that are already in the field, I think, would be good. And LinkedIn is another possibility. If you know somebody on there, they can refer to somebody else on LinkedIn. As far as the Pacer road ratings, I found those on the county website. I sent a copy to Glenn. They're from 2020. They have the map that Mick was talking about with the red and green and whatever. So it's out there, you just have to find it. On the water usage, I'm pretty sure the city just changed their water ordinances that it's commercial and industrial users will be paying more. And I don't know if the township's in that category or not, but that might be why you're seeing an increase, because that's something they just passed here in this last year, is an increase in usage for commercial industrial customers, that they would end up paying more their fair share. I ditto everything that Diane said about Mr. Lindsay. He had several misstatements. We had sent a letter to Mr. Lindsay asking him to apologize for the committee for Marshall. He was supposed to do that this evening, but apparently he did not decide not to show up and ignore that. So there'll probably be more coming on that. And I just wanted to point out something from the 425 master agreement. So in Appendix A, it talks about the setup for the Joint Planning Commission. It also mentions this at the beginning of the agreement that the JPC has sole control over the land usage. Also in Appendix A, it says the jurisdictional area of the JPC shall consist of all land subject to 425 agreements between the city and township, regardless of whether the 425 agreement is dated prior to or subsequent to the date of the formation of the JPC. So it's another splat that says they shall have control over. And the administrative functions, if it falls under the township code, the township takes care of administrative. If it falls under the city code, the city does the administrative duties. It doesn't say they have the power to overrule the JPC. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Barry Wayne Adams again, 622 West Green again. For my Act 2, I will read a statement given to me from Holly Harnden, also known as Holiday Holly, who owns the Holiday House over in Marshall, 401 East Mansion. Now, she's a member of the committee. I am not. These are her words, not mine. Although I am completely sympathetic and supportive of what the committee has been doing to try to vindicate the constitutional rights of Marshall City voters and in Marshall Township also. So she begins. Good evening. When I moved here over 20 years ago to live in my dream house in my dream town, little did I know that all these years later I would find myself in a position to have to defend what is happening to our wonderful community. The greed and corruption associated with this project is mind-boggling. It's such a shame that it has come to this. I am proud to say that I am associated with a great group of like-minded people who have tirelessly gone head-to-head and to advocate for a unique advocate justice. We the people have expressed our displeasure and have had how all this has been handled. Yet our so-called leaders have turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to our concerns. I, for one, can look at myself in the mirror and feel good about what I have done for this community. Can any of you? I will continue to fight the good fight and to preserve and protect the Marshall I know and love. Thank you, and that's Holly Harden. Okay, at some point, as part of your percipience of your job, you should be able to start to smell the rottenness of certain state actors and take that into consideration. There are certain individuals that have been involved in this whole process who obviously act in bad faith. And they are very comfortable with duplicity. They are very comfortable with misrepresentation. You know who these people are. And I'm still waiting for the Maida attorney to sue me for defamation. So things are being dismantled from the top down, fortunately. And how this will play out will become much more apparent after the Court of Appeals does its job and follows that Clam Lake versus Department of Regulatory Affairs case. Reading the case, it's very clear. The function of the JPC as an advisory body stopped when those 425 agreements were created, which specifically provided for the JPC to have sole jurisdiction over the zoning issues involved with megasite lands. So you should not be reluctant to step in as a third-party intervener. You should be 110% on this. You guys have gotten injured in a serious, serious way. The whole SOAR money laundering network is a violation of the Michigan Constitution, Article 9, Section 18, just as well as the action of the city to provide a 50% tax abatement to Ford. They have no authority to do that. And we've asked the Attorney General's office to investigate this whole situation, as well as the Michigan State Police for violation of MCL 75505, which deals with misconduct in office, the various species of which are malfeasance, nonfeasance, and misfeasance, and all of those aspects apply to the actions of the City Council. Thank you.
Any more public comments? Lee?
Lee Rothwell, Marshall Township. I'm very frustrated that that fire station is going to cost more and more of our money. We're going to have to buy our water from Marshall. They're going to, that just frustrates me so much. So please don't get rid of our well. I think that we should not be paying more. We should not be paying for the water at all. That should have been in the deal. I also wonder how much time was wasted doing a job description. From the last meeting I attended, does a job description really mean anything? If you want to work 4 days, no, I'll only work 3 kind of thing. So why bother writing a job description? Whoever takes this job, they may do what you ask, and they may say, well, I really don't feel like doing that, so pay me anyway. And I'm sure you will, because that's the way the board does it. They don't do it like a business would. If you hired somebody under this job description, you would require them to work it. Although we know from the last meeting that I came to, I said I wouldn't come to more, but here I am. And so that job description meant nothing. So what is this? I don't understand all this time discussing it, because it doesn't really matter. They don't have to follow it. If they were like I taught for 25 years, if I said, well, I don't want to teach on Fridays, I'm going to take that day off, it wouldn't have flown, and I wouldn't have gotten paid. Not that I always did get paid, but I am also very glad that you're working with the Long Street. On the way in today, I noticed that, of course, Ford has this nice, beautiful entryway to their business. And the same thing should have been done for other businesses along that road. And so I'm really pleased that you're backing them. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public comment. A motion to adjourn would be in order.
There's
Board
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 member
member.
Oh,
comment.
board member comments, excuse me.
You can even make a comment.
There we go.
I'm just jumping the gun, man.
I know, you're
Thanks
right.
for trying.
Glenn,
So, it's been an extremely long first year and in the position of treasurer, but it's been satisfying. It's been a lot of work. Been kind of at this for almost 3 years now. But what I really want to do is thank all the people that, we're approaching Thanksgiving, and what I'm thankful for is the community support to stand up for itself, whether that be new board members, whether it be a brand new planning commission that's, I think, has done exceptional work. Zoning administration, a company that we're working with, I think is doing a fine job. All the people that show up at meetings like you all have for 3 hours or more, people that show they care by, coming to the fountain twice a week and expressing their displeasure with what has taken place. I truly am thankful for that, and I hope we all prevail. Thank you.
Wayne?
Yeah, I'll be brief and quick, but yeah, I'm thankful for all of you guys for being here and coming out to meetings, and glad to see you, Lee. I was glad just to see you here. But I did want to just address one quick thing of just, I had some members of the public ask me to get the YouTube channel having its own link on the website. That is now up and live, and underneath each meeting that we were able to record, that link is also there under the agenda. So there are people that had asked for that, and I wanted to make sure that they know that that is there now, and I'll try to keep that on top for each one that's coming, but just wanted to let you know.
Just a quick kind of business comment, an update from an item from the last regular board meeting concerning zoning information being input into BS&A. Our tax assessor, Dan Sloan, says he will tackle that job for us once we get a new map up and running. He says it'll be a good way to pass the time over the winter when he's in the office. And so, also, we've been at this a year now, so it's been difficult, it's been hard, it's been fun, it's been a pleasure. I think we make a great team up here. We've definitely brought some new ideas. We've had more than our fair share of topics that we've had to address, and there will be more too. And thank you, Lee and John, for coming back again. Or not coming back in, but being here with us. Yeah. And for everybody else. We appreciate your thoughts, and we like seeing you here. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
Any more board comments? Now can we do a motion to adjourn? Okay. Need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Moved and supported to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.